Thank you so much for the invite to be part of this panel. I wanted to share some of the work that the Peel Newcomer Strategy Group has done to advance some of our internal measures and the processes that we use. Since our inception in 2007, we've been working quite a bit around evaluation. So we find that there's two distinct components to the evaluation processes that we use. First is always the measures around your indicators, right? How well are you doing towards the larger population level results that you're trying to attain as a community? Right? And the second, which is the one that I'm going to focus on today, is measuring how well your collaborative works, right? Taking a snapshot and a status around the health of your collaborative. So unfortunately in the literature, there is a lack of literature and correlation around the strength of your collaborative towards impacting your final results or results that you have as communities. The literature is definitely very clear on how important relationships and partnerships are to the work that collaboratives do, but that connection has not been made yet in the literature around the stronger your collaborative is, the better you will attain your results, right? So the success of a collaborative in in changing curves or turning curves, small or big, so providing, doing some knowledge transfer around refugees or changing, the newcomer poverty rate in your community, for example, all depends on the strength of that relationship of your partners, right? So those group characteristics that are kind of gray for us, right? So the benefit, for example, of the collaborative around the benefit that the collaborative brings to the agencies that are around the table, or for example, the trust that people have around the table, or the relationships that the partners around the table have created together. Or even the expertise that the LIP or the RIF can bring to the community planning table that you might have to advance data, research, communications, right? So we know that our value proposition as LIPs is really that. It's how much more can we do together that we can't do separately, right? Bringing those organizations together to have bigger collective impact than they could have on their own. So this quote from our colleague Haley Prescal really speaks to, for PNSG, how iterative this internal process needs to be in terms of measuring your impact, and speaks to how much you need to learn about the partnership and learn about the partners that you have around the table so you can make some real sustainable impact at the end of the day. So for PNSG, we've been measuring our collaborative for a variety of different reasons and have been really seeing some benefit. And both Alicia and Marie-Ève spoke to these this morning through the APRCP. And these this collaborative pulse that you take really supports in your story, right? So when you reach out to partners, when you reach out to your funders and stakeholders, you can say, this is how we do things and this is how it works, right? And what's not working is equally as important at what is working. So getting a snapshot around what are your partners thinking around, around entertaining shared measurement. That would be something that this assessment or this tool could do for you. So, and we hear partners say, well, I'm not sure if I have a voice because some of our co-chairs might be our funders or some people around the table might be our funders. So how are people feeling around the voice that they have around the table? These are type of things that we don't always measure. We measure, well, how well did we progress on specific indicators, but not always necessarily on how healthy is our collaborative. Because we know at the end of the day, people are going to be the ones that make that difference, right? They're the people that come together will be the ones that change the trajectory of the data that we have. People that are inspired, that are engaged, that are informed are the ones that will really show us if we're going to have the impact that we can have in our communities. So I can't stress enough that through the learning that PNSG has had over the years, that we've seen that without maximizing and enhancing the strengths of our collaborative, we simply cannot have sustainable impact. We might have temporary, short-term, project-based impact, which is great impact, but sustainable impact means that our partners have ownership over the work that happens in our communities. They're accountable. They don't just buy into the thought of the LIP or the RIF, but they really take on that and align it with the internal processes that they use to push and move their work forward. So what we're really trying to do is measure this whole concept of, is the work of the LIP or the RIF at the side of your desk that you get to and you feel like you need to go to a meeting and you need to provide your expertise, or does it align front and center with the work that you need to do? That's when you're going to see the alignment and the momentum move forward. So the measurement for us has really moved our partnership forward in several different ways. It has taken us from using sort of we need to have something to prove in our evaluation framework to improvement. We continuously bring this partnership assessment to our tables and say, this is what we're learning from our data. How is it that we can be proactive and revector some of our activities based on the data that we're capturing at this moment? And we've all been part of projects where the evaluation is 2-3 years down the line, and then you go, okay, well that just didn't work, right? But wouldn't it be great to have data at your fingertips that could tell you that you might need to realign before the project is even coming to an end, right? So this has also helped us paint our sort of story and being able to engage some of our stakeholders around the table. Identifying that there might have been a gap in policy or stakeholder engagement or communications has given us the ability to reach out to our partners and say, a lot of the partners that we have around the table are seeing a gap in policy. What is it that you can provide to the table, and how is it that you can also benefit from the work of a LIP, right? And most importantly, it's bringing that data back to the community table that we sit at that really, fosters and guides our work, is saying these are the gaps that we're seeing. How is it that together we can find different strategies and create different strategies to help us move forward with the work? So I wanted to just put this slide up only to give you an idea in terms of PNSG around the different sectors that we have around the table and why we felt the need to really measure our internal capacity and our ability to have some impact. You can see the breadth of it, right? And I'm sure a lot of your tables look similar. And I'm sure there's gaps in here that we'd like to kind of fill out. But this was our reason around why we wanted to do a partnership assessment, is because there are just so many different players that we wanted to ensure stay engaged in the process. So for PNSG specifically, we do two different sort of assessments. We do a partnership self-assessment that we've adapted from the Center for Advancement of Collaboratives, and there's different assessments that you can use, and that goes out to our direct formal partners that sit around our tables, our working groups, and our community planning table. The next one, the secondary partnership, is equally, if not more important, only because this measures all those secondary partners that don't formally sit at our table, but when the PL Newcomer Strategy Group is asked to do a presentation or sit on a committee or sit on a working group, these are the people that really have that ripple effect for the work that we do. We're trying to figure out what is it that you take away from PNSG, how do you leverage the work that we do, who else do you inform because of the work of the PL Newcomer Strategy Group. I am talking a little bit faster because I've gotten my 2-minute mark. So I did want to leave you with this slide. And this speaks to, I know we heard a lot about contribution from Jamie this morning and attribution, but the work that a collaborative does doesn't have the ability to always say, because X number of partners, did these activities, this is the change that we saw. That's a very challenging statement to make, right? So what we do is we say, what's our contribution to the tables that we sit at? What's the degree of influence in terms of policy, in terms of some of our champions, via our politicians, via our data? How are they using what we produce as a community to better all those areas in different sectors? Right? And, through the secondary partnership assessment, the biggest question for us is, how is the LIP or the PNSG sitting at your table having an impact that we can hear about, right? So it's a mechanism to hear about the impact and have us continue sitting at the tables, because we know that the newcomer voice and the newcomer perspective is a gap that you saw, and that's what the LIP is trying to kind of fill for you, right? So I'm guessing that I'm at my last. This is a slide I'm just going to leave you with. This is a slide that we usually put in some of our reports in terms of how do we know we're better off. And for the ones of you in the room that know about results-based accountability, this is a question that's commonly asked in that framework, is take a look at your partners and see, as a LIP, as a partner, as an agency, and as a newcomer, these are the pieces annually that we take a look at and say, how, because of the work that we do, how is anyone better off? And your capacity and your assessment definitely feeds into these sort of bullets here and shows you where some of the gaps and strengths are. So thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it over to Vicki. Yep.